Good morning to America. Good afternoon from Ukraine, from Kyiv. And yeah, that sun's going to come right on into my visual area. And it's going to be very unforgiving. Unforgiving. One moment. Bear with me. I have solutions. I always have solutions. When in doubt, always bring shade. So anyway, why I set this up real quick to not be blinded by the sun. See if this will give me a little bit of assistance. I think perhaps this could help a bit if I can get this in the right position. Wow. Sun is very unforgiving. One moment, everybody. That's why they make these things. Wow, it's crazy. There we go. That is exactly why they make all of this gear that I own, so that we can kind of keep the sun that made me say it was actually nice and comfy. So that's why I said I thought, well, I'll just do a quick live commentary about a few things to see in the news. All right, there. Sorry about that. Currently 6:21 in the afternoon here in Kyiv. I've got a lot of work to do the next couple of days on some more articles. The one I put out yesterday took a bit of time, so kind of recuperating from the data mix because I'm still sort of in the mental state of oil facilities being hit. So if you didn't catch the article yesterday, Moscow will burn. Please check it out. It's kind of a overview of the attacks on oil facilities and the petroleum industry. We're going to get a little bit. No, we are not going to get any kind of respite from the sun for right now, and it's actually going to get really hot in a couple of days. It's supposed to get to 97 Fahrenheit. Not ready for that here. Such extremes. But considering we just had another one hit, it's important for people to see the strategy instead of seeing just the kind of burst of headline that happens. So that's important. The recovery conference in Gdansk is underway. That's good news. It shows the business as usual with Poland will continue, and as it should. I've been very vocal about this. I'm going to continue to stay on this situation about it. That trying to exploit historical national memories for political gain in the modern times is cheap. It is especially gross when it comes from the voices of the unbombed. And one aspect of this quarrel I did not catch until Zelensky notified it the other day, and I verified it later. Is it wasn't that Zelensky walked out and decided to name a unit, something, and therefore let's go pissed off at Zelensky. The unit wanted this name and sought to have it approved, and that's what happened next. It was approved. Why? Because that's who's doing the fighting. That's what they want to be called, and that's who's doing the fighting. Then there you go. So hopefully, wiser voices at the top will continue to explore ways in which, at least at the top, important decisions are continued to be made. And I think it's important for our friends to pay attention historically over the last 4 years, especially at how many times quarrels that play out in the headlines don't necessarily wind up changing the conditions between countries. When they do, it's important to see. When it doesn't, it's important to see. Which brings me to the kind of big item that made me push record. Besides the fact that we had a clear sky, or we had a cloudy but comfortable sky, so it was going to be easy to just call you and talk to you tonight. Um, Trump directly on record saying that Zelensky is brave and Ukraine is fighting hard. Seeing that it's the position of the White House that Ukraine is uh, worth backing is good, and we will see how that turns out in the sense of not simply signing off on Congress, the bill that had just been passed through the Senate and the House, which I haven't seen the status through the White House for signature, but allowing the licensing of manufacture of missiles domestically here in Ukraine so that it would speed up the process, reduce the burden on Americans. In fact, it would benefit Americans. To see those things happen is good. Last items domestically. Couple things from a journalism point of view. I really wish certain small, let's call it news aggregator sites that I go to catch real quickly what's in the zeitgeist. They're not great for anything in depth, but they're good for saying what's kind of happening. By the way, because it's so hot, I might actually have to come out later because my camera is not liking it. My phone is nearly black because it doesn't want to be in the heat. So I'll make it quick. There's more than one that does this, but Raw Story is the one that does it a lot. So I use Raw Story as the best example of what not to do. Trump Jr. in trouble because decision X, whatever it is. Okay. According to social media account on X known as this person, and probably even, and actually several times it's people I actually know, but I don't understand the validation model that the journalist or writer or reporter, digital reporter, is trying to use to make a point. Basically, it's sort of like someone who lives on Twitter sees reactions and then writes articles from reactions on posts. And a lot of times it's people who I even like a lot of people that are quoted, but it's not really authoritative news of any kind. It doesn't yield anything. It doesn't put anyone in jail if they get busted for doing bad things. It does make a spectacle of the spectacle. So the one that was popping up today, which was kind of funny, was Alexis Wilkins, the as Marcy Wheeler called her side piece for Kash Patel. Certainly an opportunist at all levels, butchering the national anthem. And I think that it's there's a side of the clown show that's going on that is going to continue to cause us to not take action on the theft that's actually at play at the moment. And sounds like jets for half a moment. In that, there are actual cases that I want to talk about a little bit later when the sun is a little less pressing in my face, and after I read out more notes. Tonight, I want to try to go live a bit about this ridiculous case with the Antifa convictions. And I want to reach out over the next couple of days to some of our friends, Glenn Kirshner and Frank Figluzzi and others, maybe Harry Littman and others, and talk to them about, where we're at with this ridiculously long set of sentences thrown at guys that, I mean, in some cases, from what I see in the evidence, yeah, there's some charges. They should have been, the guy firing a gun at a protest or in some capacity at a protest, being charged, being convicted, go to jail. Got no issue with those things. But the rest of it, the construct of it, and I've been very busy, as you know, I live in a war, so I don't get to stare at every case flying through, but this kind of, now that it's processed through to sentence level, and I saw one of them was a lengthy sentence for a guy who was in possession and somehow transporting Antifa magazines. If I, have it correctly, I don't have a copy of the magazine. Therefore, XYZ. So went back to the indictment that was still sitting in one of my folders and reading it over all afternoon and began writing about it. So I should be done later tonight with at least a little bit of. Oh, nice. Please. Yes. Give us a little cloud break. I love the sun, but not when it's like today. Sometimes I don't need it to be glaring right in my face. See, much better. See, I can, I'm not just kind of squinting to see what's going on in the world. I do that enough with my own natural bad eyes. There we go. Okay. um, but that, that sort of cases really bothers me concerning who got away with what, the comparatives and the way in which Trump and the Trump administration, the extreme most corrupt administration, has gone on its way to stop any accountability for the overt right-wing terrorists we know about, people I've documented personally for years that are now on the street, letting out Stewart Rhodes, the Jan 6 guys that are in the most extreme cases of Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, guys who went on to, commit murders after that, other crimes after that. And as a shitty sign of force in mere politic alone, we're going to have the administration seek out lefty Antifa and get convictions, no less. I'd be very interested to see what the appeals court is going to do at that level, because if you were to compare what they're being charged with, what they're being sentenced to, and the comparative sentence structure of a range of crimes in the same courts, it'll be a fair. I think a junior lawyer could probably walk that one through, but we'll see. It's a new America, as you see. So again, popping on real quick just to catch up with you guys. Thank you. There's a few friends who were really complimentary yesterday when I was talking about really needing to get the paid subscriptions up a bit. Basically, it's thought of mechanically, and I'll just talk about it the mechanical way of the conversion between the free, subscribers, which we're thankful for, 1,700 subscribers. We were at 18 in December when I decided to kick over to Substack, and we're at 1,700 now. We were at 119 paid subscribers a little over about a week ago, and then just due to economy, and sometimes people have to do same thing I had to do. Some of them dropped off, got quiet, and a couple people signed up yesterday, including a longtime supporter friend of mine who knew me from Houston, doing work in Houston, became a founding member. So I want to thank to my good brother who's known me forever. It is a very happy, pleasant surprise with someone like that does this. But also part of me says, well, at least I know it's someone who knows what I do. And I felt good. To the rest of the crowd, I'm very adamant, like what I said last night, explaining and or clarifying what we do and why we do it is important for every account on this platform, or perhaps other platforms. I guess YouTube and others would kind of count, but I'm going to say on this platform because it's very subscription based. I like to be able to craft what's happening because of what you want to know about in the areas that I cover and or have access to. So it's a bit of a passion. I think you would get a little respite from the sun glare. It's a bit of a passion for me to get that dynamic feedback. So thank you for people who were posting yesterday. Thank you for a couple people who reached out behind the scenes and sent funds via PayPal and Venmo. It goes direct into the work. Today, as part of the work, we're talking about our visit back to Sloviansk. We will be in Sloviansk and Kramatorsk for about a week plus. We're at the 25th now, so a little over a week. There's just stuff to be finished here. My team's from America is in country for over a month to get work done. They have their own budgets. So for what they're doing, they're good. But for what I'm doing, the chief of the title of NatSecMedia, we have things to pay, things to get paid will be out of the June payment this weekend. Essentially, this weekend rolls the last of what rolls out of June finances and begins July finances. And I think we're going to cross over into the next month. Oh, okay, to get started, but we have that persistent ground game to do. The part that I hate. Years ago, I was diagnosed as being an artisan, not a merchant. Um, as a manager, I can run someone else's operation as a manager thinker. It's easy to make someone else money, like Guitar Center or a bike shop or those things. When it comes to self, it's too busy down in the work trying to find out how to go places. Whereas my longtime business partner says, we're the ones that say, how much do we have to pay you to get the job done for you? Because we like doing the work. And he's right. So that includes, let me explain a little bit about how your support works in that capacity. Today, including while I got started here, I got a confirmation email for a, let's get this out of the way while we wait for the sun. If the sun returns, we'll come back with it. Got an email from Captive Defender organization here that met me at the last War Museum meeting that Sean Penn and I covered and went to. I wrote up an article about it for Kyiv Post. And they're aware I've been doing this for a while, but we want a more proactive media consultation of what to do and why we are not permeating the West with this discussion so easily. I don't really have all the answers. I have a lot of questions myself, but one of the ways we will do it is to explore that over coffee and say, what is it that you have available on your end here in Ukraine as an organization, and to what length will I go or can go to help out? Of course, the can go is more important than the will. And of course, I will go whatever it takes to get the news out for these cases. But that's possible because of direct support from subscribers who understand what this is. In cases like Kyiv Post, New Voice, I'm not sure all the ones that are surviving on Patreon and Buy Me Coffee, etc., direct, patron signage. But a lot of those, they get combination of Patreon style, crowdfunding, and then an influx because of name level from organizations that see the value of that organization. And so then we don't approach that. I have a couple times, or at least in general discussions, but to be able to get a lot of that covered, there are areas where I don't really want to compromise how it's done, too much. There's a way in which, like with Sean Penn and I, when we talk about how to cover Ukraine with everybody, we look at what we find while living in Ukraine to be a bit offensive, including people who are, the sun is going to be relenting. There we go. Let's try again, see if I can get a little bit of block from it until I get a shade done. But we look at it as whereas some influencers may have a style that is their style, and I'm not going to really, argue with that. Mine is going to be that we had a direct path to be able to tell you what's going on without cheapening the situation, without kind of like, how do I want to describe it without being just necessarily catty. There's something about standing in front of tragedy and milking it for your name that I just can't do. Sorry, I just not wired that one. I wish there were an all-inclusive substance membership. There's so many options that it's impractical, both wise and financially. 10 paid subscriptions. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can say this, and thank you, Dave. I'm in a different situation than some folks who are doing news on this platform. I'm going to stick to two categories in particular. I think that are important where I relate to them is the actual news journalist crowd that's essentially, using this outlet as a way to continue what they did at an outlet. That's part of it. And then the expertise class of the guys who would be brought on as experts, because same thing, I used to do that in terrorism field and Russia disinformation studies, etc. So I can do those two things, and I speak about people in that category with some experience about what they do and why they matter. And in particular, for those who don't know this, and I hate to just repeat certain things, but if you don't know, helps a little bit. I have a massive archive of news from the year 2000 till now. I haven't been recording American domestic news since I arrived here, except for a little bit in the first year. I stopped paying for digital version of Hulu through VPN in August 2022. But I have nearly everything on a bunch of hard drives, including a bunch in America that I should send over here. That's broken down by category. It was an obsessive thing to do as part of what I do. But that's how I understand how the news works a bit, is that I've been in the creation of one side of it, and I've been in the sitting chair on the other. I've helped put a news organization together from the ground up at KPFT with three other people, four of us. So sorry. And from the ground here, there are ways in which people are getting the news out about Ukraine that is nothing we really recognize as journalists. There are people who do travel channels and they just kind of float around the world, and then they arrive. Oh my God, I went to Ukraine, and that account will get 500,000 views in the first day, because that account always covers being in Borneo or being in Namibia, and then suddenly in a Colombian jail, and then now we're going to go to war. And so it's a thrill-seeking channel. It's not really a journalism channel. There's more than one who did this, and from our view, thanks for the highlight for half a moment, but it doesn't do much. Here, what I meant was an all-inclusive membership to Substack. I don't know how that would break down, Dave, as far as like how that breaks down to different creators, because every creator creates their own environment on Substack. In my case, I actually used the defaults. $5 was reasonable. I see some that are 6, 7, 8. That's fine for them, but I'm not going to do that. $5 is reasonable. That's actually just above what I pay for my coffee and hot dog in the morning to start my day. So it's basically one person every month buying one of those coffees, because once it's paid out, it's $4.08, I think. And I'd have to go look it up what the number is. But also that you should keep that in mind there's a person who does content in here who got told by a viewer what they make, and it was wrong, like by a lot. They said, well, I did the math, and you have this many subscribers, and then you have this much times this much, well, it means that you're making this much. And no, they definitely are not making that much. I helped them fix a technical glitch, and while I was in there, I was able to see the numbers, and we got a little bit of a laugh. Because he says, do you see? Okay, yes, I do see. That's not what they think. No one can really pay their bills with that kind of income. Even that person is popular. They're on the uptick. They don't have the biggest name, but they have a name. And, they got a lot more followers than I do. But it has a plateau. And I think that's important to understand whether or not two things. One, are they doing what they're doing to make money? And I don't mean like a reasonable income. There's something wrong with that, but like to really groom it. Or are they doing it for, for telling the information? They're obviously for the information. I'm doing for both, actually. I'm trying to be super wealthy on your back. I'm just kidding, if you have figured that out. No, I do need to raise money for journalism. That's why I was going to bring this up at all. What we do has a lot more to do with helping people that do not have an outlet than most people may think. There are a few accounts on this platform who actually think like this. I wake up in the morning, I have to use the news work to help somebody get a serious problem alleviated. That means that there's work being done that's not at the moment of entertainment, like this conversation, and which is good. And I like to do like the Rocky Horror Picture Show we did this last weekend, or I have, some culture segments still coming. I have, should be ready for this weekend's Glenn Velez broadcast. I should be ready for it. I think I'll be done, hopefully. I may improvise it, but the other part of it involves me going to a ton of meetings to learn what's happening, proficiently reading a bazillion pounds of information to understand Ukraine at so many levels that I can only offload in 1 hour with Sean or a little bit here and there with you guys. Pardon me. And it's a lot easier when we're not stressing about whether or not there's funds to make sure things are opportune. It's even more frustrating when you know that you're not blowing funds on stupid shit that other people are blowing funds on who get ample support. And that's actually a gripe between me, Penner, not me and Penner between us, but people in our situation and other situations, including some that we may want to compliment. We actually may want to compliment a range of things, but when we see the waste versus the resources we would rather do something with, we want to just be productive with the resources, So everyone who helps us do that, this is my feedback to you that is what we do. Thank you for your commentary on my writing. It's the only thing that keeps me sane. I get pissed off, so I hit the keyboard. I get up and there's something crazy happening in the world, and I want to make sense of it. It's a bit autodidactic too. There are times I'm trying to get something out of my head, like the oil strikes one from yesterday percolates with me a lot. I've done a few articles like this, but this particular one was. When I see the refineries hit, I want to see the strategy. I don't want to just see another, smoke cloud that doesn't really tell me much. I want to see what the strategy is. And then I think about our viewers and the readers, and I think, okay, they have busy lives. They do different things. Let's do an explainer. And that's the fun part, right? That's the part where we get to learn together. So the sun it's a beautiful day, actually. You can see we got a little bit of a decent weather pattern here. It's going to get really hot day after tomorrow, or by the Sunday night into Monday. It's supposed to be 97 Fahrenheit. It'll drop down again quite a bit after that by the end of the week, but you can feel it when you go out and about. So I'm going to go get some work done, and I will see you guys in a bit. It's 6:48 here in Kyiv. It's been quiet all day today and yesterday. Here, not necessarily abroad. There's probably some things to report about Ukraine later tonight when I come back on. So I will see you then. Take care, everybody. Thank you for your support. And Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava, і пиздець Російській Федерації.